So eventually we should be live. I'm not sure how much internet speed's going to be affected by that, even though it's the same feed going over, but not quite sure what is going to be the case. But of course, that's not going to be our topic of discussion right now. We're about to get into the Grand Prix. It's going to be now time for the next hour and a half to make this an amazing Grand Prix here at the Hungary Ring, of course. Let's go and make the most of it. A 2-minute delay than the original start time. We're just trying to figure out what the YouTube stream and everything was going to be moved around. But let's go now. Let's over had a little issue, and well, there was no issue, but all right. There's a big screen. We could see the pit lane on in the pit lane. Seen the pit lane in the pit lane from the pit lane. That is interesting. But anyways, let's get started. And there we go, formation lap. Of course, a endurance race, and in the F1 World Cars as well. And I believe also the best rated livery is going to get awarded championship points, which is interesting for the normal championship. Also, I'm not sure if this is going to count as the main championship or not, but we're going to find out later on throughout the Grand Prix. But let's see. The AI is leading ahead of everybody. Meanwhile, that is going to be interesting to move over, and that is a nice one from Flats, followed by Creford, running in the pink Alpine colors. Somebody has left, and Gap Reaper has left the session. That is interesting, and not the things you want before a 100% race. But let's see, Creford in third place, Seppi in fourth place, starting with a little less fuel than they probably would need the Grand Prix start, so maybe saving around. So 3 hard tires runners with Creford, Seppi, and Reaper, followed by Flats and Ferrucchi being on the medium. In fact, Ferrucchi and Joel being on the medium tire, as Reaper's car has now left the session, migrating host, and Ferrucchi is running a little white stripe on his livery, which is nice looking actually. More like a Mustang-style livery. Of course, going to be a 2-stop race, as they say so far. And anyways, minimum 2-stop in a 100% Grand Prix. Of course, obviously, tires and tire wears work differently. Let's say, if you're doing a 50% race or 25% race, the tires are probably going to wear out easier and earlier than a 100% race at a certain part, or in the certain part of the race. But let's see what's going to be happening. Reaper's left out the session while everybody else continues. So maybe we're going to try and join again. Remember, we have one less driver. That is the reason. And anyone can leave. Reaper. All right, we're going to invite Reaper if we can, as soon as possible, in fact. His game crashed. That is interesting. I mean, this might not be the time for us to leave him and invite at the moment. We're just going to move around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, and the lights were held for too long. We're going to go racing here, the Hungarian Grand Prix. EAS gets a decent start. Joel gets a better start. Even Creford in third place so far. Seppi's going to go around the outside. Already into the lead goes Joel Flats. He's going to make it over. Meanwhile, there's going to be drivers at the back fighting over Creford and Seppi. Reaper's AI has jumped over Ferrucchi, and we're going to move over to the first lap shenanigans to move around and look at things. Meanwhile, Seppi is going to now try and get past the AI driver. In fact, everybody's now going to try and get past the AI pretty quickly. We're going to see a quick invite if we can. We, in fact, need to invite. We don't need an invite ourselves. There is no online person which we can see. I'm not sure why I've invited. I'm not even sure if I was supposed to invite the guy. I did, but that was the guy all I saw. Meanwhile, Creford and Seppi are going to be fighting each other now, obviously. And, of course, lap 1 out of 70. So it's a long endurance race. So I'm probably going to have to do commentary endurance as well to really make it and overall race with it nice and things to be moving. Seppi and Reaper now In fact, within 3/10s, and Reaper's AI is probably driving faster than Seppi at the moment. So let's see how good an overall experience of racing will be. All right, Joel Flats gets the fastest lap, of course, on the medium tyres. Seppi now having a little bit of a hard time with Reaper's AI. In fact, the straight mode and the batteries are going to be there to use. Remember, Reaper in Silverstone, I remember used less fuel and tried to catch up the cars. He couldn't quite do it. Seppi's improving on his previous lap time as well, and overall, we're going to see how well is this going to be. Flats has taken the lead. We're going to be checking here and there if we could see Reaper online. Of course, his game crashed, so it's going to take a little while to see him back online. We cannot see him. Eventually, offline EA friends. Everybody is offline, so there's rather, and it's now calculating with the EA service. It's going to be interesting. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's the AI or not, but we're going to see overall on move, of course, within these 2 laps. And definitely, we've had a endurance start as well. Pretty slow, nice and steady. Now, Reaper's AI is going to just be ahead behind Seppi. Might try and get a move on him around the outside. Chance is going to be there, but it's going to be a single move or a time move overall, but not this time. Well, I'm not sure if that's an advantage or a disadvantage if you're racing against an AI. One thing, probably if you are chasing them, you can, get through them and really overtake them, without having to go side by side. You can just go through them during an AI. But also, what happens if a driver joins mid-fight, mid-battle? Let's say a car is inside the AI because the AI is ghosted, but then the driver joins and the ghosted car disappears and it becomes the main car. That would be a nice thing to witness. I've never done that, and yes, this is actually my second ever 100% race that I am commentating on, so it's going to be nice. And eventually I would have liked to sit a little bit away from my screen, my TV-like monitor, but eventually not this time because my controller is not working. Flats has managed to put a fastest lap on the board. Meanwhile, we see Ferrucchi catching up to Reaper's car, but then eventually that is going to be, and I think they've either somebody else has lost the battle, and that's going to be Seppi running absolutely wide. That'll easily allow Reaper to come back, and we're going to just find within a couple of moments when Reaper is able to join back in the session. Indeed, they are. We can simply invite them if they need, but I think they're in the session already. I'm not quite sure, but of course they're going to continue their race only from now on, and eventually, all right, okay, I was about to say that my game audio to my ears seems a little bit low, but that is because I did lower it, and eventually that is shown because I'm using display capture as I did not want to wait. Eventually I have to join in the lobby. Eventually, as well, has he taken the load for the minute? Maybe. Did he do that? I'm not sure. I don't think he would have. No, he wouldn't have. It says AI on it, so otherwise it wouldn't have said AI on it. And finally, Gap Reaper has regained control of their car. So anything from now is going to be Reaper's time, and is going to be Reaper's time to shine in these cars. And Reaper's livery is nice as well, not going to lie. Nice designs. Maybe not vibrant colors or colors that are going to catch your eye, but nice one matching with the car tires as well. Meanwhile, Creford is going to catch up the AI into it. Turn 1 sends it on the inside line. Maybe a little bit of contact with the AI of Redian, but isn't really going to be the case so far. Of course, just 5 laps in, so over 65 laps remaining here. And we're going to watch out on how everything is going to be moving around, as eventually I get a call. So Cannot really take it, can we, right now? So AI, and now I think that's going to be nice, as Creford's gone past the AI driver, so I'm not going to be more concerned about that. Rather more concerned about Ferruki catching up to Seppi, and then Seppi moving over to Gabriba. That's going to be nice, and we'll find out overall information on what things are going to be, taking place overall, and taking place on how and what eventually it is going to see, as Joel Flats keeps getting fastest laps. Of course, a 2-stop race has been predicted, but don't expect them to be pitting any time soon, because of course these are the starting laps, and these are the in over 70 laps. Those tires should at least last them 20 laps, so minimum, I'd say, maybe 20 lap each tire is still going to be 10 laps short, but obviously that's not going to be the case, as Seppi is now going to be on their way and on their time to get on. Reaper's move to the left side, maybe to try and move out of the car in front to really not have the tires really heating up. Meanwhile, Ferruki still in P6, so he's definitely closer to these drivers, but he's not attacking. Maybe he's just preparing his battery about right now, but how well is he going to be preparing that battery? And Reaper's livery is almost like a 2017, 2018 Taurus livery, and that's going to be Reaper locking up the rear tyres, and that was him nearly losing the car. Just gets it back in control, but that could have been bigger. But definitely, I mean, as they call in real life Hungary, the Monaco without walls, and that's going to be interesting thing overall, as now the gaps are going to be more and more increasing overall, with Reaper Creford in P2. In fact, not closer to Joel, who's over 2.9 seconds ahead of him. But 4/10 within the AI driver are still staying ahead of the AI, though, which is a nice thing to do still. So, yeah, lap 7 out of 70. Over 63 laps still, but I think probably we might not want to focus on the lap counter here, because otherwise we're going to be keep doing that, and we'd end up just focusing on that throughout the whole Grand Prix, maybe. And oh, that's going to be not what time with the Tarver. Is it going to be with gaps? Oh, it does. We actually can do that. I did not know that. Oh, in fact, we don't even need to press shift these shortcuts. So gap to Interwall at the moment. In fact, these. Oh, okay. For a moment, I literally thought Creford caught up to Joel, but that wasn't really going to be the case. Meanwhile, the leader, gap to leader, is overall a lot to everybody. But we're going to find out on what and how things are up out there. So, of course, fastest lap so far, 121.149 from Flat. Second fastest lap is Creford at the moment. Eventually, Ferruki's gone past Reaper of right here, of course, because of that mistake he made. And it's definitely going to be nice overall, and that's nice. Places gained, so Seppi, Ferruki, and Reaper as they usually were before the race start. One place gained for each Creford and Flats. Meanwhile, the driver losing a single position. The things as they are, it's going to be nice and easy for them. Of course, their first experience, a different experience than usual, which is going to be, nice to see and nice to navigate throughout the whole race. While AI has now caught up to Creford. They have been actually close range, both Creford and AI, but eventually no overtaking opportunity for the AI driver to take. eventually now gaps. Ferruki might be on a trek here, because definitely I'm seeing it 3 seconds penalty to Reaper at the moment. But yeah, so what I'm trying to say here is that could be interesting from Ferruki, because of course an endurance race you have to treat it as an endurance. Of course, real life Formula One that's not, but usually what we have to race on games and stuff. And you know, he's definitely close range. He has been close range within Seppi for many laps now. He's been there almost since the start, within 1 second, but he just tries to stay there and doesn't try to make many overtakes or any attempt. I mean, unless there's an easy chance for him to take, by the looks of it, he doesn't seem to be really taking or checking that. So that's going to be nice. And I was going to check my step counter. It's over 7,000 for the day. But yeah, that's lap 10 now. So definitely we're one of the 70. It's like 1 out of 7 parts. And now that 7 parts and that second, next part of the 10 laps is going to be on our way and is going to be on our hands with Ferruki. Maybe even listening to us on the commentary from the commentary box there into their ears of trying to make an overtake. Remember, Seppi's doing a fuel saving as well, so I don't think that if Ferruki is to go for a move here, Seppi's really going to follow him, because it's a long race. Unless there's a safety car or multiple safety cars, then you can probably easily save fuel. But otherwise, it's not going to be easy. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem. Eventually now, is this going to be the time we finally see an overtake? Ferruki make an attempt for a chance for 4th place. Eventually, not this time, and Reaper is over 2.2 seconds behind these guys with a 3-second time penalty, but still, he can be moving around to catch everybody, to catch these guys. And there is going to be Seppi taking the pressure a little bit, maybe just a little bit of a pressure overall. And there is going to be time for Ferruki to move over or try and make a move. But eventually, it isn't going to be the case so far either. Let's see how well is that going to be. But we're going to have an idea on what and what not will be our situation so far. And Ferruki now, in fact, has lost out to Seppi. Then maybe Seppi trying to eventually defend. And throughout the race, I might disappear for a minute or two, which is definitely going to be normal, which should be normal. You know, taking care of a 100% race by myself alone in the commentary box is a task on our hands, and 11 laps moving over to lap 12 on those lap 13, but lap 12 for those on these tires. In fact, no, they're just going to be moving over to 11 laps on these tires. Overall, I would have thought that maybe it is the other way around, but eventually will not be. And Ferruki now 1.8 seconds to Seppi. And it can be interesting. Reaper 1.1 seconds as well, and Reaper earlier at least wasn't gaining. So unless Reaper's gained, but I think definitely by the looks of it, it is Ferruki who's lost it, because he's lost his Seppi as well. And remember, everybody around him is on the hard compound tires, apart from Flats, who is in the race lead. So that's definitely him. He's out of his strategy. Flats is almost in a race of his own then, with the gap to leader. Not sure when. Okay, that's going to move with the gap thing. 4.2 seconds, 4.6 seconds, 7 seconds to the AI. But if he's to realistically look at that, Seppi's over 17.6 seconds. And he's maybe going to continue that. Not quite sure, but eventually, as it is so far on these tires, for everybody as well. Are we going to have a move from the AI on, or from, yeah, in fact, from the AI on Creford? Definitely, definitely not this time. Well, we're going to be over to see Ferrucchi now catching up again. Maybe he was just readying up, maybe just saving those tires, or others around him have slowed down here, because it's either Seppi who's made a mistake or Ferrucchi who is catching up with everything going on around so far. And there's going to be Ferrucchi now, maybe having a chance around Gappari or around Seppi on the inside line. Seppi goes defensive. Reaper narrowly follows them as Creford gets a 3-second penalty. That's interesting fighting an AI, but that definitely means he might have been putting a lot of effort trying to have a race. Definitely not effortless this time. But let's see. I think that's going to be nice for these. It's going to be, I'm just wondering, and that's going to be a big one. And that is a escape for Ferrucchi. And that escape was definitely because of simply not being far, you know, not really driving at rapid speeds, being within cars. And maybe, just maybe, his tires could be giving up right now if we have any information on them. Eventually, I think so, yes, because looking at this so far, we don't have the overlay turned on, otherwise we would have had the information off theirs. But that was definitely a big escape from Reaper. Ferrucchi, they're just on the exit, losing their car, avoiding any damage is a big, definitely, I'm not sure if it's a mystery or not, but there's a yellow flag up in front. Not quite sure what has happened, and that might have been the AI driver making a mistake. I'm not quite sure what is going on here because, and yes, the AI is retiring. The AI is retiring, and that could be pretty not good if it's going to cause a safety car here, because sure, a retiree, but a safety car here would not be good because it is not caused by or by any of our drivers, and eventually it is not. So that is a nice idea. I don't know, just before, but yeah. 7/10 now between Seppi and Reaper. Remember, they've got Reaper's got a 3-second time penalty, so eventually it's going to be a bit of a time or a bit of a situation on what we have or what they're going to have overall, but eventually there will be time. Qualifying highlights from the Dutch Grand Prix are live, and on the thumbnail seems either Arvid Lindblad or Yuki Tsunoda in the RB. But lap 15 out of 20 now. Oh, sorry, out of 70, we have to say. But situation is looking interesting so far. I'm definitely going to be heading over for a 1-minute break. But before that, we're going to be trying to see if we can squeeze this overtake, if we can see Reaper may have a chance on Seppi right here. Ferrucchi was as patient as he could, but eventually lost the car, unfortunately, at the end. May as well try and have a move here, because or have a pit stop from Ferrucchi. Of course, just 15 laps, but he's anyways lost time to others, so he can possibly try and have a stop while everybody else is still staying out, trying to fight each other off. It's going to be nice to see how this all pans out. Overall, of course, we're 16 minutes. It's been over 25 minutes now. It marks the YouTube stream, so that means we began the race after the YouTube stream. Just 3/10 now between the drivers. Become 4/10. Is Reaper going to be close enough to make the move? No, not this time. Either he can go for a dive bomb or a mistake from Seppi. Could possibly have a chance for Reaper. But as far as it's concerned, right now on the main straight, it wasn't really to be the case or to have a chance at it. At least not in the moment. It's coming though. It is definitely coming within a few minutes or within a few laps for sure. That is what we'd expect, being 5/10 or within 5/10 of each other. There's always a chance to make a move, and no, it won't be a chance to make a move. And there is time, and that is going to be Reaper making a mistake. One driver making a mistake after the other, and that means problems are following for them. Definitely focus lost while trying to overtake, and eventually that results in him losing time to Seppi by over 1 second now. And 8/10 between the two, but I'll take my chance. I mean, I waited for them. They didn't give me any action, so I'll be back. In fact, maybe not, because he's catching up. Reaper's catching up to Farouk, and I think Farouk's chances are going to be now to... No, he's not catching up to Farouk. He's catching up to Seppi, in fact. And definitely Reaper's chances are going to be now there. They're heading over to the same chicane. He made the mistake earlier on, and he makes a little bit of a mistake again. Slight bit of lock up, and that's going to be problematic for him to move over. Is there going to be a chance for him once again? He's lost out a lot of time, and he doesn't have battery at all. And I mean, I would have expected him to save the battery. You know, on the exit of the chicane, he can easily save the battery into the end of the middle sector, or the final sector, in fact, and then just come for it in the final one. And then it's going to be a great attack, or great information, in fact. So that's going to be nice. You know, overall, and an idea of what we're going to be seeing, you know, which obviously would be a time for it to follow. And of course 1.3 seconds now, so definitely that means eventually it's gonna be on. Ooh, that's going to be another slight little mistake from our driver, and that's going to be Reaper. 1.7 seconds to him, as Faruqi is eventually now going to come into the pits to pull the plug on the pit stops. After doing over 18 laps on those medium compound tyres, time for him to head over to the Grand Prix, and eventually it is time. Let's go. I mean, that's going to be nice to see, to see if anybody else moves around, or anybody else moves over so far. It's going to be nice. It's going to be an eventually a chance, or you know, situation moved around with no pit stop plugs being pulled by anybody. Reaper now 1.5 seconds to Seppi, and yeah, eventually these guys are not really trying to, you know, get on with it. But let's see how well and how good is that gonna be on, as we have our idea. Reaper obviously making a mistake, so eventually that was not really the best way possible for them to have an idea of what they'll be getting, or what they are getting so far. It's nice. It is pretty nice overall to look at things, and of course, and yeah. And there's a yellow flag. I'm not sure who one of the drivers is, and that is Seppi. Seppi has made a mistake, and eventually, in our thought of talking to ourselves, we've lost out on how much progress has Reaper made on Seppi now. So that move, which possibly could not be done, eventually, you know, on track, with fighting, has made it possible with a mistake from our driver. So that is nice. Eventually, right now, right here. So it's now definite problems overall. Of course, with mistakes, these that we are seeing overall lap 21 out of 19, out of 70. Sorry, eventually, you know, moving around with this situation. So I'll be off just for a 1 minute, hopefully, and I'll return in no time. All right, then, looking at the situation so far. Eventually, only one driver has made a pit stop. Remember, right now in the Grand Prix, and that is only Ferrucchi, the man. The man has decided to make a pit stop. 27 seconds, and that's going to be Seppi! Another mistake from Saps, and that could be problematic, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, he was in P3. He's lost out to Ferrucchi. Lost out for fourth place because he was, or even third place. He made a mistake, and then Seppi, not once, but he's made a mistake twice to eventually lose out on this mistake. And overall situation of what is going on and what has ended up happening because of their problem. And there we go, our race leader and another medium tire runner into the bits. Remember, Ferrucchi did 18 laps on those hard compound tires eventually, and it is Joel who did over 24 laps on those hard compound tires, and it is now time for everyone to move forward, and one man who takes it eventually with both hands, that's going to be Crawford to take the Grand Prix lead, and Crawford now leads the Hungarian Grand Prix right here. So far on lap 24, of course, a pit stop behind. 23 laps on that medium compound tyre. Definitely going to be nice. What everybody's going to be doing overall, and Seppi is moving around. So, yeah, it's going to be a nice one so far. Right here to get things and overall experience. And Seppi has still managed to keep 4th place. That is nice, and that is his 3rd spin now throughout the Grand Prix. And we can see his front wing end plate on the right-hand side missing. So they're definitely going to need to come into the pits this time around. And Ferrucchi now only 4 tenths between them. 5-lap tyre deficit, but that is definitely a lot less meaningful as it would be on a smaller or a little race, maybe, if that's the word to put it. Ferrucchi now gets a 3-second time penalty while making an overtake on Seppi. So 3 drivers with a 3-second time penalty out of the 5 that are racing right here. We're going to have to go to detail. There's just 2 drivers, Ferrucchi and Joel Flat. Both started on the medium compound tire. Ferrucchi's done over 5 laps on the hard tires, and Joel, in fact, we didn't notice in the situation. Oh, nearly hits the pit wall while trying to come in. Does Ferrucchi there, but yeah. So Joel, in fact, has went for a medium tire again. So that's definitely nice to see that they've eventually went for another medium set of tire. Eventually to get things on, and they've seen the situation of overall what is going on, or what is going to be, as Crawford's now in the pits as well. So 26 laps on those hard compound tires for him. In fact, 24 laps, 25 laps it rather says, but now all tires off. New tyres on, so he's going to go for a hard medium at the end. That's not a bad strategy at all. Well, Joel has went for another medium set of medium tyre sets. That definitely means he's going to go on for a, he's going to be going on in for a hard tyre at the end. So medium, hard at the end. Definitely not a bad choice, considering, you would know that at least your tires would be in decent condition, so you don't really need to worry about it. And Crawford is already about to undercut Reaper and about to get past him. And that's going to be Reaper making a mistake, slightly, in fact, losing the car, nearly making contact with the wall. And Crawford running quite wide as well. So that is an interesting idea of what is going to be the situation of all of this from here, as or in fact we've gone past, we've just gone past 40 minutes. That means that we're nearly gonna be at our next hour, 50 minutes or almost 1 hour from here at the end of the Grand Prix. There's still a long way to go, not even halfway just yet. 27 laps, make it 28 when our leader goes around next time by, but that isn't going to be the case this time. Meanwhile, that is interesting, but that is rather not interesting. I'm not. Yes, that's actually Joel Flats in P1, Seppi in P5. Gap to leader, in fact, we've got Sluts gets another fastest lap, 119.781. Definitely trying to get that extra fastest lap point, which is yeah, which is nice. Not a bad idea at all. For an overall experience. So only driver with not a penalty is Jolt now, and 3 seconds to every other driver in the Grand Prix. Make it 6 seconds to Crawford, who now gets not one but 2 3-second time penalties. So that is a little bit of a problem. Everybody's made a pit stop apart from Gap Reaper, who's currently just making their way onto the final corner and the final hairpin around before the pit entry. And we'll get our idea whether they're going to come into the pits now or eventually stay out. And they will indeed stay out on those hard compound tyres. So maybe, just maybe one stop, but eventually, even in real life, around the Hungary ring, we've seen the 2-stop is the more demanding or the more accurate one. We've seen cars do a 1-stop, but in the end they end up running out of tire grip, or especially if they want to fight for positions, let's say try and overtake or try and defend from drivers around. It's quite difficult. They definitely feel or face difficulties of all kinds to keep it and make it work. And going over to the gaps and interval, I think there comes probably the hardest part for ourselves and for the drivers as well. For the Grand Prix, you know, lap 30 out of 70, you have to say that. We nearly have to do double and plus 10 more laps than what we've done so far. So that's about interesting. 44 minutes into the race that we are in. Overall time 58 minutes so far, including one shot collie, and then a couple of minutes after that we had to wait. Gonna be nice. I mean, still 100% is a lot in my opinion. Of course, it's not that it's an league thing or it's a whole thing, but of course this is a single event, so that's not a problem at all. But eventually, overall, you know, 20. I'm in 100% personally. Like, unless you hold 12 drivers, only then you'd probably want to get on it. Other than that, not really. Personally, if you ask me, but gonna be nice. Eventually, 28, 30. There we go. Yeah, exactly as I said. So 14.2 seconds between Joel and Crawford. 12 between Reaper and Crawford as well, followed by Ferrucci and Reaper by over 31 seconds. And that is a great chance now for Reaper to sort of straight head into the pits and get a free pit stop over Ferrucci, as Reaper is the only driver who's not pitted in the Grand Prix yet, followed by Ferrucci, who's 25 seconds ahead of Seppi as well. So technically both get a chance or eventually get a free pit stop if they are to take it right now. In fact, no, we would have probably thought that they are not going to be doing that. But in fact, they will be doing that so far. So that's going to be nice. And there's a yellow flag. Let me guess, Seppi. And it is Seppi indeed. Eventually, so not really a good time or a good race for Seppi at least. Eventually, let's say that just because eventually that's, you know, he's lost out a lot of times, and he's lost out. And does he have any damage? And eventually he does. He's lost out the whole both sides of the front wing. So definitely that straight mod is not going to be working. So either he gets into the pits or retires. I don't think he's going to be retiring with this early in the race. Only 32 laps in. So yeah, eventually he's just going to get on. There you go, Sappi in the pits and Reaper in the pits as well. Ooh, the soft tire, that is interesting from Gap Reaper. And eventually, yeah, so they've got a 10-second time penalty, but I think this time they'd probably be the least worried about it. Because considering, you know, they're going to anyways come into the pits next time and they can easily serve it. Although it is going to affect their pit stop time next time by, but at least for now, I don't think they'd be really much worried. And Crawford's into the pits. That is interesting. No, in fact, Crawford's not into the pits. I think he got a penalty, but for something else around here because he's just pitted. So I would doubt that he's came into the pits now. He's definitely got a 10-second penalty for something that we don't know yet. And they've just decided to come into the pits now. And there we go, medium tyres for Crawford, and that's going to be an interesting idea and situation for them overall now, because they've now made 2 stops already, while everybody else is looking to possibly be done by their stops if they've made 2 stops. Definitely not Seppi, he had to make a pit stop, while Reaper, Ferrucchi and Flats have all made a single pit stop so far. And definitely it's almost going to take 2 hours for the Grand Prix to end overall. An hour from now, just about 50 minutes almost in, so that's pretty much double the time that we usually work over, nearly, including short qualifying. Ooh, that was going to be a big one right there from Crawford to move around the curb so far. But let's see how well is everything going to be shaping up soon. Definitely he's on the medium tyres, and at least a good thing for him is that he's over 6.5 seconds ahead of Ferrucchi, despite making a second pit stop. So, you know, considering Ferrucchi is going to make a pit stop or again anyways. So that's going to be a nice situation, you have to say, for Crawford, at least considering the mistake he made, considering the situation that's happened for him, and indeed that 10-second time penalty has been served, and now it is on. Reaper's going to have a chance being on the soft compound tire around the outside of Ferrucchi. One man he was fighting Seppi earlier lost the car, and as that might be the same case with Ferrucchi there, as he runs absolutely wide on those 15-lap old hard tires, and that'll allow Reaper to get past, and Reaper does get past, and now again his car is giving a great combination of those red stripes around his car on the side with the red stripe soft compound tires as well. That's definitely a nice one. And eventually I'm trying to find my water bottle, which I cannot do that. And remember, best livery gets 3 points. So if you in the comments think whoever is the best livery or an amazing livery, do vote out do cast your vote for who has the best livery overall. And eventually we're going to go overall for MP1. This is Joel Flats. We're going to see them and see their livery all around. Eventually then P2. Creford, that's a brilliant view of Creford's livery. Eventually then we're going to get an idea of Reaper's livery as Creford gets the fossil up on those new medium tyres. And then Ferrucchi overall in P5. That is going to be his livery. His livery is definitely metallic, but probably the basic of them all. And Joel, I think Joel's livery is great, but he's probably not used the best texture for it. Let's say if this was metallic, this would have been great, but eventually this looks... I'm not sure if this is metallic or not. This is definitely not matte, but this is not as glossy as let's say someone like Creford. Creford's livery is quite glossy. We're going to be nice, and finally we are now past the halfway distance of the Grand Prix as Creford gets another 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings. So that's going to be a big one now for Creford. Then he's got lots of penalties over 9 seconds. He's in fact, funny enough, over 9.9 seconds ahead of Creford, ahead of Reaper, but definitely chances of a race win or a race lead after those two stops eventually won't be on the cage, but also, you know, an overall situation might not be as smooth or as expected for them. And who that man is, and that man's going to be Seppi maybe. In fact, that's going to be Ferrucchi, I believe so, because yellow flag, green flag just happens in the area that he was in. So that definitely explains that his situation. He's definitely not having best of races in this Grand Prix. And remember, they've started on less fuel as well. So eventually that's going to maybe play in their part, as if not now, later on the Grand Prix, they're going to have to lift and coast. I think, of course, overall it depends on how much fuel they've taken. You know, if they've not really, let's say, have taken, not taken way less, it won't be a problem. But if they've just taken too less, that's definitely going to be a problem. And is it Creford? And indeed it is Creford lapping Seppi, who's the final driver in the Grand Prix. I mean, lap 39 out of 70. I'm sorry if it's getting a little too boring, because eventually it is turning out to be boring. But, I mean, that's pretty much, as I said, you'd expect from a normal, not a normal, but let's say a race or a 100% race, or over 70 laps of racing. You know, we're going to be moving over laps 40 with our race leader. So that's going to be, you know, done in almost 1 hour. 58 minutes, so probably you get minus maybe 10 minutes of the final 2 laps, or the 15 minutes, but eventually almost it's going to be over 2 hours. But let's say not over 2 hours, but around that area, and around that time on, around that place of eventually what and what not it'll be. So far, I mean, strategy-wise, of course, everybody on the 2-stop strategy, with Gap Reaper going on with a bold choice of soft tires. Of course, it's not a bold choice. I mean, it's not that it's going to be very difficult to do laps on those softs, and like the normal 50 or a 35% race. But at the moment, it seems nice. And are we seeing anybody in the? In fact, no, we're not. I thought the blue thing on the area was going to be out and about of the pit box being occupied, but eventually wasn't the case. So, in fact, 2 drivers separated by a lot, but in fact, no, they are not separated. Who is it then? Oh, it's Seppi then. I was going to wonder who was it between Reaper and Seppi and P5, both of them running around the track together. And of course, these pit stops usually do make you, make these races separate from each other a lot. So that eventually is going to be the best case scenario of what we have, or what we are about to have. But Seppi now getting lapped over a minute behind Farouk as well. So definitely Reaper looks almost okay for a 3rd place. And that is Seppi again. I thought that was going to be Reaper, but that is not. And Seppi again, I've lost count on how many times he's spun around. This time he wasn't even racing anybody, just trying to keep it on track. But unfortunately for him, it has not worked out at all. Not at all. That's definitely not going to be a good one for him then. Eventually right there, because he's maybe not had the best of weeks or times eventually, because he's lost it again, and he's going to get lapped by Faruqi as well. Not Faruqi, in fact, he's going to get lapped by our race leader for the 2nd time. Let's see. I mean, how well do they finish this Grand Prix, though? Because, as I said, I mean, eventually... And, yeah, so... Yeah, let's just say that, even I think now this probably is the hardest part, the second half of the Grand Prix, because the first half can get past you, or you can get past the first half. I wouldn't say easy, but nice and easy. But the ending, the willingness of keep going, and especially just trying to finish the way you've started, or trying to finish better than the way you've started. So it's going to be a nice one overall for sure. And Creford's out. Creford's out of the Grand Prix. We have our second DNF, and maybe just what we were looking for to add a little bit of a flavor. And just as I said, as I called it, that you not only have to get to this stage, but as my next point was going to be, that you have to get here and eventually make sure you finish. Make sure you don't crash out. Make sure you don't really lose all the progress that you have made overall. And unfortunately, it is the other way around for Creford after such a good qualifying, such a good race up until this point. Second place up for grabs. And he's lost it all in one, and that is not a good idea. That is not a good idea. I'm not sure that is if that is my internet or not. Eventually, is the stream going? Okay, that is the stream is going. So, somebody was the host and they've lost it. Okay. Oh no, it started again. It has started again from 0. Oh, sorry, my screen's not going to be visible. Apologies. And that is definitely not a way to go. See what's going to happen now. Because obviously it is not going to be the way. What now? Let's see what we have on ourselves to get on. And see what we're going to be at. We're going to keep the results as they were in this scenario. Yeah. So as it is, we might be coming up to an end of it. So let's see. And definitely, I think we did over 40 laps, I think almost 50 laps, and that was a nice one. That was a big one, definitely. And of course, I mean, apart from that little fumble, so far the event was fine. And unfortunately, he was the host. He DNF'd, but then I feel like he might have left the session as well. Not only just DNF wouldn't have probably did all of that eventually, but I'm not sure why though, because usually if a host leaves, usually it just switches the host, and eventually, you know, as it was. So definitely we're going to come to an end. I'll have a final confirmation and only end the stream when we have the final confirmation. But definitely, I think it is eventually, it's going to be the way for it. For it to be the way forward then now, because of course the way it was, and migrate and host, no player, and that's all. And that was then, ladies and gentlemen, as it was. The results will be as they were. After all of this interesting Grand Prix racing for over 45 laps, for all of us to keep us interested in front of our screen, it's going to be nice to end it over. So hopefully all of you watching really had the fun and really enjoyed all of the racing action. And that's going to be the all then, ladies and gentlemen. And that is going to count to an end of this 100% Hungarian Grand Prix, which was at least, let's say, over 50%, almost 60 to 70% completed overall before the inconvenience happened. So that's going to be an end, and hope you all watching enjoyed it, and it was all worth while it lasted. And from all of us here at Cockpit Drivers Championship, and my name is RB, and we are out. Adios, take care.